places in the world that feel forgotten, not abandoned, not ruined, forgotten, as if the world itself chose not to remember them. A house deep in the woods is one of those places. No streetlights, no neighbors, no passing headlights to remind you that life continues somewhere beyond the trees. Just timber walls that breathe in the cold, floorboards that answer footsteps with whispers, and windows that reflect more than the room behind you. Tell me something, have you ever walked into a place and felt it recognize you? Not familiar, recognize, like it already knew your shape, your voice, your fear. Tonight we enter 3 houses, cabins, lodges, cottages, forest homes, each one isolated, each one holding something that never truly left. And by the end of tonight, you may start to wonder whether empty houses are ever really empty. This is episode 15, The House That Waited in the Woods. Let's begin. My name is Mason Reed. This happened in Vermont, US. And before I tell you what happened, I need you to answer something. If you came back to your cabin after dark and found a second front door where there had only ever been one, would you still go inside? It was supposed to be a writing retreat, just me. 3 nights alone in a rental cabin outside Stowe. No phone signal, no Wi-Fi, just forest, snow, silence. Exactly what I wanted. You ever get tired of the noise? People, notifications, voices. I wanted quiet, real quiet. The kind that makes you hear yourself think. Funny thing is, sometimes that's the worst kind. I arrived just before dusk. The cabin was beautiful. Small wooden structure, stone chimney, porch light glowing warm against the snow. 1 front door, dark green paint, simple brass handle. I remember that detail because later, it mattered. Inside, everything felt normal. Fireplace, old books, a kitchen that smelled faintly of cedar and coffee. Upstairs loft bedroom, 1 bathroom, 1 front door. I checked, locked it, set my bags down, started the fire. Everything ordinary, everything safe. That first night, I wrote for hours, the kind of focused silence I hadn't felt in years. Wind outside, branches scratching the walls, nothing unusual. I went to sleep around midnight. I woke up at 2:17 a.m. I remember the time because the clock on the bedside table blinked it in red. 2:17. Always unsettling, isn't it? When you wake for no reason, no sound, no dream, just awareness. Then I heard it, a knock, 3 slow knocks, from downstairs, front door, knock, knock, knock. Tell me something, if you're alone in a cabin in the woods at 2 a.m. and someone knocks, do you answer? I didn't. I stayed still, listening, waiting. The knocking didn't come again. Eventually I convinced myself it was a branch, went back to sleep. Morning came, everything fine, no footprints outside, fresh snow, undisturbed. No tracks leading to the cabin, no tracks leading. Nothing. I laughed it off. Wind, wood settling, my imagination. You ever do that? Explain away the first strange thing because it's easier than believing it happened. That evening I went for a short walk before dark, just around the tree line. The woods were beautiful, tall pines, heavy snow, perfect silence. When I came back, I stopped dead. There were 2 front doors, side by side, same porch, same wall, 2 identical green doors. Same brass handles, same frame, same porch light above them. I stood there for a full minute, trying to understand what I was seeing. Had I somehow missed it before? Impossible. No, absolutely impossible. Tell me honestly, what would you do? Pick one? Turn around? Run? I should have left. I know that now. But instead, I walked up to them. The left door was warm, the right door was cold. I don't mean the handle, I mean the wood itself. Like one led to firelight and the other led somewhere without heat. I chose the left, because of course I did. Warm means safe, right? Inside, everything looked normal. Same fireplace, same furniture, same bags where I left them, same notebook open on the table. Except the fire was already lit. I had put it out before leaving. I knew I had. Then I saw something else. Mud, wet footprints, leading from the door up the stairs. Bare footprints, human. I was alone. Tell me something. If you saw footprints in a locked cabin, would you follow them? I did, slowly, every stair creaking under my weight. The footprints ended at the bedroom, the loft, right beside the bed. And then they stopped. No prints leaving, just ending, as if whoever made them had stepped onto the mattress or vanished. I backed away, fast, went downstairs, locked the door again, checked every room, nothing, no one. That night, the knocking came again, 3 slow knocks, but this time from inside the cabin. Knock, 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 from behind the second door, because when I looked across the room, there it was, a second front door, inside the living room wall, where the bookshelf had been. Same green paint, same brass handle, same porch light glowing above it. My blood went cold, because I knew that was the other door, the cold one, and something on the other side was knocking. Tell me something, if a door appears inside your house and something knocks from the other side, do you open it? I didn't. At first, I sat there all night, watching it. The knocking continued every hour, always 3 times, always patient. At 4 a.m., the handle turned, slowly. The door opened inward, darkness, complete darkness. No room beyond it, no hallway, just black. And from inside, a voice. My voice, soft, tired. Mason, I froze. It's colder over here. The voice sounded exhausted, like me after days without sleep. Then it said something I still hear at night. You chose the wrong door. I grabbed my keys, didn't even pack, just got in the car and drove, snowstorm or not. Didn't stop until sunrise. When I called the rental company later, they told me something strange. There was no cabin listed at the coordinates I gave them. No property, no record, nothing. I went back 2 weeks later. Daylight, clear weather, same road, same forest, nothing there. Just snow, trees, and 2 sets of footprints, side by side, leading deeper into the woods. Sometimes late at night I hear it again, 3 slow knocks from inside my apartment wall. And every now and then, I dream of standing on that porch. 2 doors, one warm, one cold, and each time, I choose differently.
My name is Eleanor Price. This happened in the Yorkshire Dales, UK. And before I begin, I want you to think about something. Have you ever stayed in an old house and felt almost immediately that one room didn't want you there? Not in a dramatic way. No slamming doors, no shadows moving, just a feeling, a heaviness, a presence in the air that seems to collect around a particular doorway. If you have, then you may understand why I still can't sleep with my bedroom door open. Because some rooms don't wait for you to enter. Some rooms already know you're coming. It was late autumn when I rented the cottage. I'd just gone through a breakup. 7 years with someone, and then one afternoon it was simply over. He packed half the books, left the kettle, and took the silence with him. What remained was worse. The kind of quiet that doesn't comfort. The kind that echoes. So I booked a week away in the countryside. A stone cottage outside Hawes, remote enough to feel removed from everything. Old enough to feel like time moved differently there. Exactly what I thought I needed. Space, distance, stillness. You ever go somewhere hoping the place will fix something inside you? That was me. I didn't realize some places are broken too. The cottage was beautiful. Slate roof. Stone walls thick enough to keep the cold out. A fireplace that still smelled faintly of smoke and old oak. 2 floors, a small sitting room downstairs, kitchen to the rear, and upstairs 2 bedrooms, the main bedroom and a smaller guest room at the end of the corridor. The owner, a woman named Mrs. Wilcox, handed me the keys with a strange little pause. "Use whichever room you like," she said. Then, after a moment, "Though most people prefer the front room," I smiled politely. At the time, it seemed like nothing. Now I know it was a warning dressed as courtesy. That first evening was almost peaceful. Rain tapping softly against the windows, the fire crackling low, a cup of tea in my hands, For the first time in weeks, I could hear my own thoughts. I unpacked slowly, took the front bedroom as suggested. The guest room remained closed. Simple enough. Sometime after midnight, I woke up. No nightmare, no sound. Just that sudden, breathless awareness that something had changed. You know the feeling, don't you? When the room is the same but somehow not the same. Then I heard it. A voice. Soft. Female. From the corridor. Eleanor? I froze. No one knew I was there. I hadn't told anyone except the owner. The voice came again. Closer. Eleanor, are you awake? It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. There was something intimate about it, like someone standing just outside the door, speaking carefully so as not to wake the rest of the house. Except there was no one else in the house. Tell me something. If a voice called your name in an empty cottage at midnight, would you answer? I didn't. I lay perfectly still. The voice lingered in the silence for a moment longer. Then, a sound. A doorknob turning. Not mine. The guest room. At the end of the hall, a slow, deliberate click. Then the faint creak of hinges. A door opening. By itself. I didn't sleep again that night. By morning, I had almost convinced myself it was part of a dream. Old house noises. Rain. Half-sleep imagination. That's the lie we tell ourselves first, isn't it? Because it's easier than the alternative. The next day passed uneventfully. I walked the village paths, visited a small bakery, spoke to no one. By evening, I almost felt foolish for how frightened I'd been. Until I returned to the cottage, the guest room door was open. I had left it closed. I was certain. The corridor upstairs felt colder than the rest of the house. The kind of cold that seems to gather in old places. The guest room itself was small, single bed, floral wallpaper faded with age, a wardrobe in the corner, and a vanity mirror opposite the bed. Everything looked untouched, except on the pillow there was a shallow indentation, as though someone had been lying there recently. Tell me honestly, would you still stay the night? I should have left. Instead, I closed the guest room door and went downstairs. I made tea, lit the fire, sat in the chair and told myself it was old springs settling. Nothing more. But sometime after 2 in the morning, I heard footsteps overhead. Slow, measured, walking from one side of the guest room to the other. Back and forth, always stopping directly above where I sat. Then the voice again. Might you come upstairs? This time it sounded almost sad, and somehow familiar. Not someone I knew, but familiar in the way certain memories feel. As if I had heard that voice once in childhood and forgotten it. Have you ever been afraid of something and curious about it at the same time? That's the most dangerous kind of fear, because eventually curiosity wins. It did for me. I took the lamp and climbed the stairs. Each step felt louder than it should have. The corridor seemed longer. The guest room door was half open, a slice of darkness visible beyond it. I pushed it open. The room was empty, but the bed was no longer single. It was made for 2, freshly turned down. 2 pillows, 2 indentations, as if someone had just risen from it. Then I heard it, behind me, a whisper at the edge of my ear. You took so long. I spun around, no one there, but the mirror, the vanity mirror, showed something else. Someone standing in the doorway. A woman, tall, pale, hair pinned back, wearing a dressing gown from another century. And she was smiling at me. I turned again, empty doorway. Back to the mirror, still there, only closer, and then she spoke, without moving her lips. I've been waiting for you. Tell me something. If a room already knew your name, how long had it been expecting you? I ran downstairs, locked myself in the sitting room, stayed awake until dawn. The voice whispered through the floorboards all night. Fragments, soft, pleading things. Don't leave me alone. Sleep upstairs. Stay. The word stay repeated until it no longer sounded like language. Just breath. Just need. The next morning I went to the village bakery. I asked the woman at the counter about the cottage. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she asked, "Which room did she put you in?" When I told her, her face changed. The story came out in pieces. The cottage had once belonged to a woman named Edith Wilcox, the same surname as the owner, Mrs. Wilcox's grandmother. Edith had lived there alone for nearly 40 years after her fiancé died in the war. Every evening she would prepare the guest room. Fresh sheets, a warm lamp, a second pillow, always waiting for someone who never came back. One winter, they found her upstairs, dead in the chair by the bed, facing the door, still waiting. I packed immediately, didn't stay another night. But when I reached the front door, suitcase in hand, I heard footsteps upstairs, and the voice clearer than ever. Eleanor. I stopped. I don't know why. Maybe because it sounded lonely. Maybe because some griefs are contagious. Then the final whisper. If you leave now, I'll have to wait again. I left. I never went back. But every now and then, when I'm falling asleep, I hear a soft voice from the corridor, gentle, patient, calling my name. And sometimes, for just a moment, I wonder whether she's still waiting in that room, or whether some part of me never really left.
Tonight, the woods did not frighten you. The darkness outside the windows was not the real danger. The trees were only witnesses. The wind was only a messenger. Because the true horror was never outside. It was waiting inside the walls, inside the rooms that learned the shape of a life, inside the floorboards that remembered every step, inside the doors that opened not because of the wind, but because something within had decided you belonged there. Tell me something before we part tonight. Have you ever gone home and felt, for the smallest moment, that something was different? A chair moved slightly from where you left it. A portrait tilted just enough to catch your eye. A hallway longer than it should be. A room colder than the rest. A door you are certain you closed, already open. Would you notice? Or would the house notice first? Because some places do not simply shelter us. They study us. They listen when we cry. They learn the rhythm of our footsteps. They memorize the sound of our breathing in the dark. And when grief, loneliness, exhaustion, or fear leaves a crack in the mind, they slip inside. Patient, silent, hungry, not for flesh, for memory, for identity, for the quiet spaces inside you where your name lives. Tonight, 3 houses open their doors. A cabin with 2 entrances, a guest room that whispered before it was entered, an attic window that watched tomorrow unfold, a basement door that opened inch by inch, a portrait that rewrote its own history, a home that remembered its previous soul more clearly than the one living there now. But ask yourself, were those stories about haunted houses? Or were they about something far worse? Places that do not haunt, places that replace. So before you sleep tonight, look once more at your room, the walls, the corners, the reflection in the window, the dark line beneath your door. Listen carefully. If you hear footsteps, count them. If you hear breathing, make sure it matches your own. And if your reflection blinks before you do not look away too quickly. Because sometimes the thing staring back isn't trying to scare you. Sometimes it is simply waiting for its turn. You've just listened to Mr. Haunting Whispers TV, where stories breathe in the dark and silence remembers your name. If tonight's whispers followed you home, don't worry. Some stories never end. They only move in. Until the next whisper, keep your lights dim, your mind open, and your doors locked. Because somewhere, in every empty room, something is still listening.
You've been listening to Mr. Haunting Whispers, where every truth leaves a scar. If the story unsettled you, good. That means you were listening. Subscribe and stay close to the dark, because the next whisper might be for you.